Yo, we back with Gunsmoke Decisive Battle. Now that we're level 60, we can take this boss on. We have 2 attempts and 1 more if we buy an extra ticket. You should use all your attempts on the boss and not the outpost battle. If you follow this guide, you should be able to get more than 800 points than the outpost battle gives. For a quick overview, each season we are given a permanent effect. This week it's Cold Wave, which buffs our freeze and hydro damage. Then we can choose one of 4 mods to use. The blue arrow shows which units will be affected by the season buff, while the reddish arrows show which units are affected by the mods that we choose. After that, we select the 4 units that we're planning to bring in, and we get to choose a support unit from one of our guildmates. By the way, as a helpful tip, you can actually move your gear around and your common key to units that you want to sit there and bring. You don't have, it's the equipment, the keys, they are not locked. So we can sit here and give our under-leveled units some actual good stuff here. Sitting there transferring all of our keys if we so choose to do so. And actually just move them all over here and hopefully give us a better chance, especially seeing as we are all strapped for resources right now, like each and every one of us. So doing this little bit, definitely gives them an increase and makes it a little bit easier for us. Starting off my first fight, I'm bringing my best team that I can plus Papasha. And I'll go over why I'm bringing her in a moment, but you should start Papasha in a middle deploy area so that the city warden spawns in an area that I can get hit by AoE. You also need the unwavering conviction key so that the city warden can't move on its own. There are about 3 to 4 mechanics to pay attention to in this fight, but overall the boss doesn't do too much damage, so we really don't need to bring supports all that much. Let's start with why I'm bringing Papasha though. This boss will use Scattered Cross Prison, and you want your units to be hit by this. Not only does it do -2 stability damage to the boss for each unit hit, and that's a free -10 to 12 stability, but if the boss happens to hit 6 units, it'll lose 50% defense for 2 turns and take 1 more stability damage for each attack. Since this is a separate debuff, it does stack with other defense breaks. And the only way to achieve this is with a unit that can summon, and right now Papasha is the only one we have that can summon currently. We'll get some units later on, but this is all we have to work with. The boss uses a move called City Warden's Protection. This move gives him 3 stacks of Edifice that increases its defense by 25% per stack. He loses a stack per attack, but it can also be cleansed. If you cleanse it, your team will get a siege buff that increases the damage they do by 15%, and this can stack 4 times, granting you 60% increased damage for the rest of the fight. The units that can cleanse are Kionji and Tololo with one of their fixed keys, and then also Diane and Veplay have it built into their kits. Every 2nd and 5th turn, the boss uses Sword of Damocles. I think I'm pronouncing that right. This will target the closest unit, and then on the next turn, he'll launch missiles at them. If your unit stays above 65% HP after the attack, the boss will be debuffed and take an extra 30% more damage. Also, for every 10% HP above 65% that your unit has, the boss takes an additional 5%. This means you can debuff the boss in a total of 45% or more damage taken. And I believe you'll see it here in a moment. Give it a second. Let the boss do, you know, some 360s here. Attack every unit. There we go. When you see that red square, that's when he's about to use his sword skill. So make sure you use any kind of buffs or anything, heal up your unit. Do what you need to at this point so that you can try and stay above 65% HP. Lastly, for each ability the boss has, he takes 2% less damage. Meaning you should have your hardest hitting units attack last, unless they get a buff from someone like Ksenia on her support attacks. Also, a little tip, if you notice, my Maki has been the one to tank this boss since she has a shield. If you use if you plan to use Maki as the tank, use her ult second turn. The shield won't be up in time for how do you pronounce this? Sword of Damocles. It won't be up in time for that if you use it on the first turn. Other than that, this like I said, this boss is rather simple, and it doesn't do crazy amounts of damage. So you're free to have all your characters stay in the middle and whatnot, and to just tank the damage, especially if they're level 60. If you bring in level 40s, it could get a little dicey depending on what your team looks like. Other than that, if you're not using Papasha on your team, you can actually move your unit. Once the boss is stability broken, you can move your units out of the AoE just for that short period of time, just in case you need to worry about the damage. And also, being stability broken in this fight really doesn't mean much. Like, my Maki is stability broken, but she's going to be very, very healthy the entire fight. Like, she doesn't get anywhere close to dying, so there's nothing to really worry about on that. But yeah, I think that goes over everything. Other than that, just maximize your DPS as best as you can. You can... I'm not at that point, we're not at that point yet, but you can spread your DPS out instead of bringing all your best units on the first fight, and that can be fine. Later on, when we're actually able to kill the boss, the last bit of HP the boss has doesn't actually give us that many points. So generally speaking, it's better to spread your DPS out to maximize your point gain instead of trying to kill the boss with one team and then take all your units, you know, or whatever you can fit together for the next fight. Also, if you haven't noticed, I haven't been using Papasha's S1, and that's just a personal choice. I don't really think you should use it. That way you always have your index in order to use the City Warden's ability. There we have a 2794 score, almost 2800. As for the second team, again, just bring whatever best units you can, taking along somebody who can cleanse and whatever fits the buff that you end up choosing. Since I took the Cold Snap one, I'm using Somi here. And if you happen to use Veplay, make sure you move Veplay 5 squares every turn. That way she applies the movement speed debuff onto the boss. And then again, it's the same thing, same setup. You just move all the units into relatively the same area, have somebody close to tank, and wash, rinse, and repeat this entire process. If you happen to do a third attack, hopefully you have units. If not, just bring a support unit and do the same thing again. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope this helps you get as much points as you can. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're feeling extra special, you can join the Mage Institute by clicking the join button. You can catch me on Discord, link is in the description, and if you want to help support this channel, there's a link in the description for that too. As always, I will see you all next time.